I do not want to touch his ass. I want him to talk. I'm Liam, he's Rob, that's Dave, and this week we take a look back at one of the lesser watched Schwarzenegger movies of the 80s. But unlike, say, Raw Deal, one that is actually, well, kind of good. It might have been overshadowed by Arnie's memorable comedic turn in Twins the same year, but there is a lot to like about this Walter Hill directed 80s buddy cop movie. With great performances by Schwarzenegger, despite the accent, and Belushi, despite being a bit of a dick, is this movie ultimately let down somewhat by its overly serious tone and oddly muddled plot? Now, guys, I was trying to figure out why, and we mentioned this at the end of the podcast last week, that why did we have kind of relatively fond memories of this movie, but we hadn't returned to it? Like we said, you know, we all watched like Raw Deal back in the day, but we're just like, well, it's just not very good. But we both kind of went, we remember this being quite good, but for one reason or another, it just didn't stick with me. And I like going back and rewatching it, I think it is the plot and maybe the lack of fun in this film, despite, you know, some pretty good writing.
Well, for me, the memories that I have, I think were made up. It's a Mandela effect because I'm not too sure I've seen this film. I said last week, oh, I saw it, but I don't remember much. Like, have I seen this film? I couldn't remember anything. The clean heads, like I said, the plot is ridiculous. The worst bad guy on screen ever in this film.
Gosh.
Oh, dude, he looked the part. He didn't sound the part.
Well, he looked the part until the end of the film when he put on what I can only describe as a shell suit. Now, people, if you haven't watched the film recently, you're like, wait, I can't remember him wearing a shell suit. No, not a shell suit like they were in the 90s. Literally a suit, but in the style of a shell suit. It is absolutely fucking bananas, and it removes all the threat. Like you say, he totally looks the part. You know, he's got that weird eyebrow thing going on, those crazy eyes. The dead giveaway that he's not actually Russian is the fact that he can't smoke for shit. It's an absolute dead giveaway. All Russians can smoke, as far as I'm concerned. But the way he's dressed at the end of the film, when he's supposed to be at his most threatening, it's just like, yeah, just don't buy into it at all.
It's definitely Eastern European chic. I mean, they know how to pull off a suit. Probably 20 years too late, but you know they're great at it.
I may be calling myself an idiot here with geography. He's Georgian, not Russian.
So it's part of the USSR.
But it's Soviet Union, so it was back when Georgia was part of the Soviet Union.
Because he's not Russian,
which is
he
why
smokes like a Georgian.
Well, yeah,
no,
that's why Arnold says to him, isn't it? He said that he's told him Russian.
Yeah,
and he says no, he's I can't remember, Soviet.
Yeah, but it's saying that back in '88 was kind of akin to like saying, "Oh, you're British," but me going, "No, I'm Welsh." You know, it's kind of one of those. Like Georgia was part of Russia, but he was still Georgian. So yeah, he's part of the Soviet Union, but he's fuck you, I'm actually Georgian. But I suspect Georgians can smoke as well. I haven't been to Tbilisi yet. It's on the list. But cash money, I bet you pull out of the train station and those motherfuckers are smoking. And not like this asshole. And for a start, the reason is because he's American, which I never knew. Was it something O'Brien? Is that his name? I forget. Eda Ross, who plays Victor Roster. Fantastic. But no, he's not. I think he's a potentially interesting baddie, but I think he is let down by the muddled plot and especially by the inclusion of the gang, who I think you mentioned the name of a moment ago.
Heads.
The clean heads.
Yeah, because they're all bald.
Yeah, they also make me one of the most racist people ever because the shootout at the end at the hotel in particular, I was just like, they all look the same. They all look exactly the fucking same. And I know that sounds racist as fuck because they're black, but they all look the goddamn same. And I still don't know why they're really there. I don't know why, say, Victor Roster Salim at the end, like he hands in the key and then shoots him anyway. I was just like, what the fuck is even going on here? I just don't care about that part of the plot at all.
You get that part because he was walking away with the money and the drugs. So I get that part. He wasn't going to...
Oh, fair enough.
But the whole setup, the first setup where you had that clandestine meeting with the two payphones next to each other. Okay, so they can't talk to each other. They got to talk to each other over the phone. They didn't.
It's clever.
It is clever
until
he
takes the note off him.
He takes the note off him. Spends a good minute folding the note up, then adjusting his hat and walking away. Like, dude, I thought you were meant to be good at this.
Yeah.
And
how they make contact with each other,
and how to not look. You know, like you said on paper, that's a good idea. So I'm going to say his name, Salim, whatever the fuck his name is. He rolls up, they do their little phone box thing. he is wearing the most ridiculous beret I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
He's also not a great actor in that scene. Let's get to the point here. But it's like, they're trying to be inconspicuous. It's like, I know it's the 80s, but that fucking ridiculous hat. And it was almost as if to say, like, oh, I've only got a few scenes in this movie. I'm going to make sure I stand out. Like, well, you can't wear the beret for the whole film. So, oh, it's okay. I've got this taxi hat I'm going to wear later. The most fucking ridiculous taxi hat I've ever seen in my life. The dress code, like, the politics obviously aged this movie a great deal. If there's one other thing that aged it, it is the dress code. Whether it be the Russians, or, well, obviously he's playing a Russian. Arnie's suit is so incredibly of its time. And only Arnie wears suits like that, but it's not a great look. And the flat top, but that's clearly leaning into the whole, Ivan Drago image of what it means to be a Soviet Russian.
This whole thing as well feel a bit 48 Hours to you.
Well, yeah, same director, I suppose.
Yeah, well, the same director, but like he thought, oh, you know what? I'll take the same plot, but instead of it being getting a prisoner, I'll have a guy from another country come over, and it's just that was a convoluted plot as well. In 48 Hours, to this day, I couldn't tell you like what they were doing or why they got Eddie Murphy out of prison. And we watched the film on this podcast. But the other thing, James Remar, the bad guy in that, you could replace him for Victor.
Very similar.
Yeah,
very similar.
Absolutely similar.
Yeah,
I just watched it.
No, they are very similar.
With I watched 48 Hours twice.
maybe that's. I mean, this was the kind of odd couple peak as far as cinema goes. Like, the late 80s, early 90s. Oh, sorry, the whole of the 80s. Because 48 Hours was like 82, 83, I think. So like Lethal Weapon, 48 Hours, The Last Boy Scout, even stuff like Bird on a Wire, Tango and Cash, Midnight Run, and you get so many of these movies in such a relatively short space of time that by the time you get to this movie, it's a solidly made movie, but nothing stands out. Like, this is, and spoiler alert for my ratings, this is the most like three-star movie I think I've ever seen, in so much that it just stays 3-star all the way fucking through. It never like really drops to a 2. It never peaks for a little bit towards a 4. If anything, I mean, you mentioned the fact that, you thought you'd seen this and now you're not so sure. I'm sure I've seen this before, but all I could remember was the opening sequence, which obviously we have to talk about because it's fucking nuts. But after that sequence, all I can remember is Arnie saying Victor Rosta a lot. And the rest of it, I was like, this is like watching it for the first time. It was unbelievable how much I just like completely blanked this movie. But there's a reason I remembered the opening, beyond the whole stone in the hand thing, which is pretty bonkers, but kind of cool. And the fight out in the snow where everyone's just like ass naked.
Thanos ass.
Yeah, on his ass. I mean, he's in great shape.
It's not even just his ass. I'm glad you brought this up, right? Because it may sort of focus in on a couple of naked women in the pool, but it is still the most homoerotic opening to a film I think I've ever seen. And I really didn't need to see a close-up of Arnie Flong through his loincloth. I mean, they got really close, and you could see the outline of that bad boy.
They had a face on
it.
Yeah. You mentioned that the fact that there were women, and I can only assume they added the nude women. One, because of the 80s, and you got to have some tits. They get out the way early doors. Like, listen, we're going to get some tits. We'll get that sorted in the first, 30 seconds of the film, and we can just get on with things. I think, to your point, Dave, it was like they shot the scene and went, guys, this is gay as fuck. Like, this is super gay. We've got to get some tits in this scene. Because I don't know what's going on. Is it a spa? Is it a gym? Is it where everyone goes to fuck? Is it a fuck fest? It's like, it's just
cottaging.
everything.
I mean, that's Russian cottaging right there.
Well, I mean, they've done perfect, haven't they? They thought, we need all these things. Let's put it into one. The owner of that is a genius. You want a gym? We got a gym. You want a brothel? We got a brothel. You want a sauna? We got a sauna. Everything is in that one place.
Well, it's elite though, because the guys there, they aren't just muscly. They're obviously Arnie's buddies because they are like Mr. Olympia big. They are massive.
Sven Ole Thornason is in there.
Yeah. Just complete
ground muscle.
Yeah, he is, because he's the one who puts the hot stone in his hand, isn't he? And then you've got I don't know, like Mr. Miyagi or Al Leong on steroids, just there talking about like if you're a worker, you'll be able to hold this with no problem because basically you got women's hands. Like,
he looked like a wrestler.
I don't understand why he was there. Like Arnie, I mean, Was he undercover? Was it a sting operation? Was it like literally what an opening to a film? It's like you don't need any exposition. It's fine. Let's just walk in. We'll have a
Mhm.
close up of Annie's ass. He'll turn around. You'll see a schlong, and then all of a sudden he's fighting some guy in the snow. Between that,
And it's weird.
I blinked and I couldn't figure out how they were suddenly in the snow because they were inside a second ago. I was like, what the hell just happened?
Perfect.
You throw him out the
80s action.
window.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's a
really quickly.
perfect 80s action fight. Annie gave him a hook. Not an
Mhm.
uppercut, but that guy managed to jump up through the window.
Well, that's the thing, and that comes back to one of the issues of this film. The tone is weird. Now, one of the reasons I think a lot of these films have actually aged well, so it's going to sound weird, the criticism, is the fact that if you make these movies today, for instance, and this is not just buddy cop films, Ghostbusters is one of the examples I always use, is that in the 80s, what they did first and foremost is they shot it as a movie set fundamentally in the real world. It's the same with 48 Hours, Ghostbusters, this, Lethal Weapon. And then what they do is they sprinkle a bit of comedy on top. And that's what makes it work. Like Ghostbusters, it's not like everyone's telling jokes. It's just, it's quite a bizarre, kind of set. It's like a high concept in terms of, they're a ghost. But other than Peter Venkman, everyone's playing it relatively straight. Like, holy shit, there are ghosts in the world. Whereas if they make those movies today, everyone on screen is a fucking comedian. And not just that, they shoot the movie in a completely different way. Walter Hill shoots this movie like a gritty 80s police procedural. And for 20, 30 minutes, that is all it is. There is no humor until Arnie and Jim Belushi are like put together on screen. And even then, it's not like a laugh a minute. Like Jim Belushi is not like just cracking jokes. He's quick witted, but he's an asshole. But so
he's
you have
grumpy,
these
isn't
like,
he? But that's what makes it funny.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
makes him quite relatable. Like, so I liked him. He's a bit like me. He's fucking miserable,
Well,
complaining about him.
I've always liked like Jim Belushi in films. For some reason, I just don't really like Jim Belushi films. It's weird. Like he's good in it, but like K9,
I love K9.
again, it's been a while since I've seen that. But you saying about the humor. You mean you didn't laugh at the? And I didn't, by the way. I just had to bring it up. The two Russians talking about America and Chicago and gangsters, and then out of nowhere, the Russian captain goes,
And then just goes, yeah, just ends it there. It doesn't carry on.
Just pulled out a Tommy gun move.
there are some weird cultural jokes in here, and most of it falls a little bit flat. The best stuff in terms of like the genuine comedy, it all comes from Belushi and Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I think Schwarzenegger is genuinely great in this film. However, there's one big caveat to that: the accent. Now, can you be great in a movie but also have a terrible accent? So I think you can deliver a great performance while also delivering a terrible accent. So the ones that stand out: Dick Van Dyke being the obvious one, a super memorable performance in Mary Poppins. His accent is fucking bananas. Charlie Hunnam, I could pick any movie. I'm going to pick Pacific Rim because I love it. Charlie Hunnam doesn't even sound British correctly, and he's actually fucking British. It's bananas. Harrison Ford in K9, he's perfectly good in that terrible accent. I know you guys maybe aren't fans of this. Jared Leto in House of Gucci. I've heard different opinions on his performance. I think he's fantastic in that. I think he's the only person who knows what kind of movie he's in. He gives an outrageous Italian accent, but it's really fun. And maybe the most obvious one is John Malkovich in Rounders. An amazing performance in a great film. It's a fucking dog shit accent. So I think it's possible, and I think Schwarzenegger pulls it off in this movie.
Don Cheadle in Ocean's 11.
Oh,
That's just bad,
British
though.
accent.
Yeah, that's Cockney.
Yeah, but that's not a great performance. That's just a bad accent. That's all I see there.
I didn't even think Annie was trying to do Russian. He was
Yeah, he was
doing himself with
Yeah.
paper. Like, I don't think he was trying to be Russian.
I was honestly, that was the only thing that took me away from how homoerotic the intro was. I was watching it and I was just like, is he trying to do a Russian accent? And he is, because every so often he'll say something and you'll be like, oh, he's clearly tried to smack a bit of Russian on that bitch. But it just disappears then. Most of the film, he's just fucking Arnie. But I reckon like 20%, the only other performance I can think which comes close to it is Richard Attenborough in Jurassic Park, where he tries out a Scottish accent, and you'll forget that it even happened. If you go back and watch Jurassic Park, for the opening 10 minutes, maybe, he's trying to do a Scottish accent. And then he just decides,
Abandons
nah, fuck that. And he's just English for the rest of the film.
I'll give you another one. What's that Sean Connery submarine film?
Hunt for Red October.
Hunt for October. Yeah.
So when they have him speak Russian at the beginning, like actual Russian. He's trying to put on a Russian accent with his Scottish twang.
Loshradan.
Yeah, but then all of a sudden they're like, "Well, this isn't going to work, is it? So we'll just pretend now that something magic has happened, and now he's speaking Russian, but you can hear him in English." And he
Yeah.
just gave up any kind of Russian hindrance whatsoever, not hindrance, any cadence of Russian. He was just like, "Oh, I'm Scottish again."
Well, that's the thing. They should have gone the full Valkyrie approach for that. The Tom Cruise film where they just decided, all right, we're not going to do accents, which is, when you think about it, it kind of makes sense. The idea that you speak in English, but you just do it with a like German accent is kind of weird. And once you get over it, it's like, okay, they're just doing the accent, so it doesn't become a thing. If everyone else, like The Hunt for Red October is interesting because it feels like Sam Neill, for instance, is really going for it. But then Sean Connery is just like, nah, I'm just being Sean fucking Connery. So it stands out even more. But yeah, I think Schwarzenegger is good in this. I think he's really, the whole stoic thing, like kind of his speciality. But his accent's fucking all over the map. It sneaks back in like after like 60 minutes, like, oh, there it is again, and then it just drifts the fuck off. So it's fine.
With Schwarzenegger, I'm a big fan of continuity. Right? You said about him being stoic. I'm a big fan of continuity. I was saying this the days before we recorded. But I could have done with them not worrying about that mark on his lip for the entire film.
No,
He's trying to act stoic, and it just looked really weird. It kept taking me out of the film. Like he's put lipstick on the wrong way. Like it was really strange.
It's not that they go for those bits of. Yeah, no, it's all like because at the end of the film, and you rarely see it in 80s movies, after they have the showdown, the terrible final showdown with Victor Roster, he has like a proper scar on his head, like a big scar. And you don't usually get that in action films. They have like a little bruise and they get over it super quick. And you see at the end of the film, you're just like, my God, his head's like fucked. That scar's going to be with him for the rest of his life. But it all comes back to the whole weird tone thing. It's like, it's a gritty 80s cop movie. Then as soon as somebody gets shot, it suddenly turns into Commando. Don't get me wrong. This movie proves once again that gunshot wounds just looked better in the 80s. We mentioned before on the podcast, like lightning, for some reason, looks better in the 80s. Skeletons look better in the 80s. And gunshot wounds, definitely, the high watermark, I still... Oh, sorry, go for it.
Okay, I was going to say, especially for in this film, the trick. The woman's trick when Victor sent the clean heads to the wrong room. And then, where is he? He's in the shower and he comes out and he stumbles out and he's got those bullet holes because he's not wearing any clothes or anything. Yeah. So they just look insane. They look really good.
I still think the high watermark is RoboCop. Like Ed 209, like when he just smokes that dude because he doesn't comply within 20 seconds, whatever, and he gets just fucking shredded. I'm like, it looks so violent. To come back to that scene briefly, why did that woman suddenly become part of the movie for like 2 minutes? So the woman who was in there with the dude who got shot in the shower, she like follows him around. They go back, like she shoots someone to save his life. She's
Commando,
becomes something.
He looked
a little bit like her. She sounded like her. She acted like she just screamed all the time for no reason. And it really, even the music to a certain extent,
dude,
there's a bit of Commando in there.
It's because it's James Horner. When I was watching it, I because the opening is like really aggressively, it's Russian music. I was like, man, this is a bit much. But then like 10 minutes in, it's just Commando. And I was just like, this sounds so much like Commando. And it is just James Horner doing the soundtrack sans the steel drums. He's just removed the steel drums, but everything else it's so Commando, it's ludicrous. So yeah, it is the same guy.
Speaking of the hotel, did you recognize the hotel clerk?
Oh yeah. From sorry, go for it.
No, go on. From where?
From Constantine, Identity. He's playing Pa Kent in the new Superman. Pruitt Taylor Vince.
Pruitt Taylor Vince, yeah. Really weird. I mean, as a larger man, I can say this. Really weird to see him thin.
Yeah.
Like
it's the eyes of the giveaway, aren't they?
He's just a large, bald man. Like, yeah, just back in the 80s with hair as well. That was a weird thing. What I laughed at was they credited him as night clerk. That dude never leaves that hotel. Couldn't they just call him hotel manager or hotel receptionist or something?
I like the fact you refer to him as the guy with the eyes as well. I mean, that's the only guy who can look at 3 different things at the same time.
Yeah. I forget the name of, because it is a thing, isn't it, where your eyes are constantly moving. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But I just thought the strangest thing with him is like, yeah, he's there to deliver exposition in that usual way. He's an interesting character to do it, and he's quite memorable. But then Victor Roster just like smashes him up for no reason. I'm like, dude, why the fuck are you beating up the night clerk? And that's his whole character trait.
That's why.
Well, I was thinking about that, like this whole thing, because usually with a bad guy, you try and have something to make them even maybe slightly relatable or understanding. There's none of that with this film. Victor Roster, I'm just like, is he just angry when he wakes up? Like, to be that angry, like, can you keep it up all fucking day. Like, how tiring must it be to just scowl from the moment you wake up? I fucking hate Russia. I fucking hate Ivan, or whatever the fuck he said. Just angry all the time. All I want to do is sell drugs and fuck whores and kill women. It's like, dude, chill out, man.
I've been managing it since I was 5. I'm doing okay. So
Yeah, I was going to say for that dude. I mean, he's been eating turnips since he was born and pulling plows with his bare back, and it'll get to you eventually.
Do you know what? As well, speaking of Victor, did he keep his feminine-looking driver around just for the one moment that he knew he'd have to send him into a hotel room?
Cold nights in Russia.
Yeah,
into
a
male
house.
Dude, was I the only one, as soon as I was watching that, just thought of Austin Powers? That's not a woman, that's a man, baby. It's just like the whole sequence is so like, why didn't you just hire a woman to do it?
Or you go as a doctor's coat. You didn't need to go dressed as
why did it have to be in
But what I
so
love, because I only ever saw that guy driving the car. So I didn't see how tall he was. When you finally see him, and it might have been that he was wearing heels as well, I didn't see his feet. But my God, that was a stacked woman. Like, Jesus Christ, that nurse is stacked. Oh, wait,
there's just no doubt.
Into it.
Yeah.
Belushi, man, what are you up to, buddy? That's so clearly a fucking dude. Like, it wasn't even a subtle thing where it's just like, oh yeah, maybe at a glance. As soon as you saw like the shoulders, the fact that, I don't know, he looked about 6'7". Like, that's
Adam's apple
guy. Yeah, the giant Adam's apple, the big man hands.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll roll the dice. Could be a rough night, but we'll see how it goes. But yeah, that whole sequence was again very strange. But that's the thing. When the emphasis in this movie is on Schwarzenegger and Jim Belushi, I'm on board. As soon as the narrative shifts to those guys, the gang, and Victor Roster, I just not only lose interest, the movie just doesn't do enough to get your interest.
When you said about that scene, and it sort of brings into point, I really liked Gina Gershon.
That was my next point, yeah.
I forgot how hot she was.
Oh, she was smoking, wasn't she? But she probably was one of the best acting performances in the whole thing, I think.
She's probably one of the best actors going.
Well, yeah.
But
it's quite funny.
What was she? Was she in Bound? Was that it?
Yeah.
Well, this comes to my point. She only really ever plays two roles. She either plays a troubled woman of a bad man or an absolute bitch. So you got like Showgirls, bitch, Cocktail, bitch, soft, troubled partner, and it's they're very similar. She always seems to play the same roles.
She does have a shtick.
Years, or was it 87 Cocktail? So it could be around about the same.
88, I think, Cocktail. I watched that recently, actually, for the first time. That film is not what I thought it was going to be at all. It's a weird film, right? Yeah, I mean, I like Cocktail is a perfect example of an objectively bad film that is really fun to watch. Like, my wife and I watched it and we're just like, that was terrible. I really enjoyed it. Like, it doesn't make any sense. I totally enjoyed it.
It's Tom Cruise film, but I do enjoy watching it. Gina Gershon in this one, going up before we start going on about Tom Cruise a lot. Gina Gershon in this one, I'm with you. She was good in this, and it was really like, and they brought it into a lot of it. It was like all the plans started revolving around her. Well, I'm his wife and all this shit, and then all of a sudden they
just Dexter.
They kill her off screen.
So unceremonious.
Yeah, just a TV package of look at this woman we drug out of a river. It's fucking no, that's wrong.
I honestly couldn't believe it when it was her. I was just like, wait, she's dead. I was like you said, like it's not quite as absurd as the woman at the hotel who just kind of pops into the movie for no reason for like 3 or 4 minutes. But like you said, Dave, like they're building her up. She is a big part of this movie. She obviously has some kind of relationship with Arnie in terms of him seeing people in a different way, blah, 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 the slightly softer side of Arnie. And then she's just dead. And I'm just like, wait, what? I don't think she needed to die. But
when Arnie let her go and he had precision shooting to shoot the lock with that Magnum, disintegrated the door. Or left a massive hole. He just popped that lock. It was perfect.
He's just that good a shot.
Yeah,
he's just that good a shot. He's just like, and
his Russian gun, and I don't know what the gun was. The extra
auto cannon, the
extra inch of barrel outside of the slider was fucking insane.
Just to look cool.
What's that for?
It's overcompensating, isn't it?
It's just to be Russian. It's just to be, and that is one of the things we probably haven't mentioned is. Was it like a big deal or a ballsy move of Schwarzenegger to play a Russian in '88? I was trying to think what like the equivalent would be today. Would it be like The Rock playing a Chinese spy in 2025? As like, although is The Rock aesthetically ambiguous enough to play a Chinese spy? When I think of aesthetically ambiguous, I think of like the peak is Ben Kingsley. Ben Kingsley can be from anywhere, and it's proved. He's played people from fucking Egypt and China and all sorts. He's The Rock, while not exactly Mickey Rooney as Mr. Yunioshi in Breakfast and Tiffany's. It's it would be a ballsy move. Like, the Soviet Russia was still a thing in '88, and he's playing, well, supposedly the good guy, but that was the thing with Arnie back then. He was at the peak of his powers, but his whole thing was working with interesting directors. Although I would say this is when when you look back at Schwarzenegger's career, sorry, this will be super quick. This is when he really came into his own, because before '87, his career was actually a bit hit and miss. So he made Conan the Barbarian, but then he followed up with Conan the Destroyer. Then he made Terminator, but then he made Red Sonja. Then he made Commando, but then he made Raw Deal. So he was kind of like one good, one bad for like a bunch of years. And then all of a sudden this year he does Twins, he does Red Heat, then that follows it. Then there's Predator and Running Man the same year. And then he's just off on his, unbelievable heater. But this is when Arnie really became Arnie, I think.
Going back to your original point, I wouldn't say it's a ballsy move for him to play Russian. Like, he's going from one white person to another one. It's like, all right, maybe if Denzel Washington played Russian, that's a ballsy move. But
it's also
no. I don't.
You say about the accent and stuff, but like.
But that was your point. Is it a ballsy move for him to play Russian? It's not. No,
it's not.
The average American know the
playing...
difference between an Austrian and a Russian. They probably just went, he sounds foreign. It's fine.
No. You're missing the point.
American.
No, it's no. Sorry. In fairness, I went off on one about the whole like Rock and playing a Chinese person. I meant more in terms of Russians were seen very much as the enemy. Like, he's supposed to be like the biggest star in the world, the big box office star, and suddenly he's playing, on paper at least, the bad guy. Like, if you're a Russian, I put it like I said, I always think of like The Rock, 2019, 2020. He is like Mr. PR. Do you think he would have played like a Russian bad guy in 2018? No fucking way. No way.
I don't think it's as bad as you think it is.
No.
Because it's right at the end of the USSR's powers and everything. So
was that 91, I think, when it dissolved? But I see what you mean.
It all 1989, wasn't it? The wall started coming down and things, and it all started to fall down. And I think a lot of the tension had gone. I don't think people really cared as much as they did. If it had been the 70s,
maybe,
right in the heart of the Cold War, then yes.
Because I'm glad you changed. I can't even think of fucking words today. Yeah, I'm glad you changed the question a little bit, because I would have said no. The most egregious one would have been Mickey Rooney.
I did say Mickey Rooney's 100%. He's like, but I actually think, and he goes so far beyond that I don't buy into the idea that anyone is offended by Mickey Rooney playing Mr. Yunioshi in Breakfast at Tiffany's. It's so racist that surely it's funny. It has to be funny. Like, nobody's watching that going, oh my God.
No, but I know what you're saying. It's like Short Circuit.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's worse.
Fisher Stevens playing it.
It's worse.
I don't know.
Fisher Stevens, until I was told when I was older, I was like, I just thought that Fisher Stevens was fucking Indian. But nobody thought Mickey Rooney was Japanese. He's got the buck teeth. He's got the eyes. Oh, hello, Mrs. Tiffany. And all. It's like South Park levels of racism, where you're just like, it's so self-aware. It pushes the boundaries so far. They're just like, it usually comes out the other side, just like, well, it's just funny now. I think that's maybe the case. But anyway,
in your original point, no, I don't think it was egregious at all for Arnie to play.
Not egregious. I just thought maybe it was a brave move.
If you think about Arnie anyway, all of his things, like we were talking about Raw Deal, he was playing a small town American sheriff, but I'm not going to fucking change my accent. I'm not even going to look small town American. I'm just going to look like, I don't know, I skinned the bear. And he's fucking
they always have to give him a slightly, they did the same with Jean-Claude Van Damme. They're like, we'll give him a slightly exotic second name, so his dad is from somewhere foreign, but he was born here, so he's American.
What they do at the moment now, what I love, is all these bad Jason Statham films, like The Beekeeper and Working Man and everything like that. He's American, but he's had a stint. So in Working Man, I think he had a stint in the Royal Marine, so that's how he picked. His
accent in the B film is mental.
And what was it? There was
what is that his new shtick? It's just Jason Statham has jobs.
Oh yeah.
That's all he does.
I think the next one is the same thing as well. I think he might be a bricklayer. I don't really know. What was it? Was it called Safe? No, not Safe. A Homeland or Homestead or something like that. Where he played a DEA agent. He went up against Frank Grillo's drug cartel bang, and then he then ended up in a small town, and they would tell you like he's been a DEA agent. He's an American cop, but he I don't know. He spent the summer in England, and that's why he's got his accent.
I personally, I'm
What's
a
going
big
on?
fan of it. I love the idea that someone's famous enough and comfortable enough in their own skin, and they're just like, nah, fuck that. I'm not doing the accent. You can write the
And
script
that's it.
around
And the
me.
writers are like, all right, we just got to put something in, some throwaway line to explain why his accent's like that. I don't even think we
I
need it half the time.
Yeah, I prefer that to like a halfway because I think he does go for like a halfway house in the Beekeeper movie. Where what is it called? The Bee Man, the Beekeeper. Dude, how many bee puns can you get into a movie?
Oh, he
The
had
answer
a
is
lot. He had
so
a
fucking
lot.
many.
Yeah.
But in that film, he kind of like goes half American, half British, and it just becomes distracting. Just be Jason Statham. Nobody gives a fuck. You're just making movies about somebody who's got a job who also kicks ass. The next film is just going to be him, I don't know, working at a fucking Tesco, but he also kicks ass. Is that any more ridiculous than the Beekeeper? I don't think
really,
so.
no.
The shop assistant? Absolutely
I was gonna say
ridiculous.
the baker. What's his next one? Hang on. I want to know what his next film is now. Mutiny. After his billionaire industrialist boss is murdered in front of him, Paul Reed is set up to take the fall for the crime, leaving him on the run as he works to uncover an international conspiracy. So he's a businessman.
Yeah, I was going to say, if his boss gets killed, you know what that means, don't you? He's gainfully employed at a job
Yeah.
where he's about to kick some fucking ass.
I mean,
Speaking of
Mutiny
kicking
has
ass,
to be the working title. It's going to be businessman, isn't it? Or Wall Street.
I just got to ask, what are the odds that we would pick two movies back to back which both have sleeve guns in them? Like, how
I know.
crazy. I totally forgot. I was just like,
And
after
the-
Desperado last week, I was like, fuck. Victor Roster's got them as well.
He's got like Colt 45s in his sleeve. How is he keeping them in his sleeves? Yeah, but those things are just in, and he's always shooting, and they look great because they shoot out and he catches them. And it's like, you haven't seen Desperado, have you?
I've not all of it.
Okay.
I've seen bits of it.
And then this sleeve gun goes back to like Taxi Driver, where it's just like, it looked like a fucking musket. Like he had a musket up his sleeve, and the silencer he put on it, that was perfect. You didn't hear anything.
Well, again, it's the whole thing about the movie maybe not deciding what it wants to be. You know, it's suddenly got sleeve guns, which feels very showy for what is an otherwise relatively gritty film at times until you start getting the comedic elements. And then, you know, I think at one point they're trying to sell you on the idea that the key is the MacGuffin in this film. The whole key storyline is bullshit. And they try and make you believe that it's important by Arnold Schwarzenegger having the most dramatic key grab in movie history. So I'm not sure if you remember when
minutes, didn't it?
when the gang shows up and takes Victor Roster away, he gets a hit on the back of the head, and then he crawls under zero duress. There's no one else around, but he makes it as if like he's under a time limit, and finally grabs the key. And it is almost shot for shot the exact same as Terminator 2 when he, you know, like he's been like almost killed by the T-1000 at the end when he sticks the spike to his back.
Yeah.
And then he suddenly reboots. He pulls the spike out, and then the music starts rising, and he crawls across the ground to grab his grenade launcher. It's exactly the same shot, only instead of an awesome grenade launcher, it's a fucking key. Not quite as cool, sadly.
How is it still in his hands? Which must be several hours later, after several examinations
Yeah,
by doctors and
yeah.
things. He's still, oh, look, it's just in my
Because he's
hand.
Annie. You ain't opening that fist if he doesn't
Yeah,
want
the nurse tried to take the key, but I said no in a Russian accent, of course.
How lucky was it as well for Belushi to have an ex-brother-in-law who is a locksmith?
Oh, that was so ridiculous. That was so needless. Their little back and forth. I was just like, why is this happening? And you know it's not going anywhere. You know it's not fucking going anywhere. But there's a whole bunch of people like Lawrence Fishburne. While it's great to see Lawrence Fishburne in a movie.
Sorry, Larry.
Larry Fishburne, my apologies.
Yeah.
Larry Fishburne doesn't need to be in this movie. He just doesn't need to be in this movie.
Douchebag.
Yeah, he's also a douchebag, but he doesn't
yeah, that's right,
achieve
what he says.
anything. He doesn't achieve anything. But then, you know, I can say the same. I always enjoy seeing Brian James in movies. I was trying to decide whether Brian James was doing his Tango and Cash style British accent in this movie. And then I was just like, his accent's even more insane than fucking Arnie's.
What's up with the name Streak as well? There's a story behind that we should have had. Like his
Yeah,
name
we
is
didn't.
Streak.
It's all very strange. But then I don't think there's anything stranger in this movie than the prison sequence. So there's a moment about halfway through the film when Belushi and Schwarzenegger go to have a conversation with one of the gang member leaders. And I don't know about you, but my understanding of going to a prison is that if you want to interview one of the inmates, is that you go to a room. They just walk into like the general populace of the prison and question them with all the other fucking criminals around. That doesn't happen.
That's because the clean edge run the prison. He's not going to an interrogation room. If you want to come see me, you come here.
It's bananas. It's the most dangerous thing they do in the entire movie. It's just two cops walking into the prison, just in the middle, just completely surrounded. They're like, oh, this is fine. I don't think it is.
I don't know, because the dangerous thing is going to an underground car garage on the say-so of a woman they just met to meet the guy he's been chasing forever. I mean, James Belushi says it right. Like, and the key, shoves the key down his pants. Oh, I'm glad we didn't bring the key with us.
That whole sequence, it's so poorly written and poorly explained. By the time you get there, I'm like, I don't know why he can't just shoot Victor Rossa. I don't know why the gang's there. And the biggest problem is I just don't care. I just don't care about that part of the plot. So that whole sequence should be really tense. And I'm just watching it going, I just want to move on. I just want to get on with the
Every
film.
time Victor spoke, and I thought it was weird, right? He's speaking mainly in Russian to Arnie. But then for some reason at the end, they just decide to have a conversation in English.
Yeah.
Like, why all of a sudden?
Arnie's got like 4 phrases. He uses them all up earlier in the film. That is it. That's all the Russian you're getting out of this motherfucker. He's got twins to shoot.
Leading up to that does, for me, bring out the funniest part of the film. Now, I know Rob said that he didn't laugh at anything just because he has no sense of humour.
Also,
yeah, sure. When they pull off in the car and the coffee lands in his lap, the tirade from Jim Belushi is brilliant. When he just shouts, "Jesus Christ! I just burned off my dick. Look at the mess I made. Now I'm gonna wash the car. I wrecked the goddamn suit. I hard-boiled my nuts. It's gonna look like I pissed my pants all night." You can just imagine yourself sitting there, just throwing off. You know,
that's getting more and more angry as you think.
That's the great thing about Belushi in this film, is that I totally buy him as a Chicago cop. Like often in movies, you get these kind of like super cop looking motherfuckers. He just looks like a pissed off cop for the whole film. And I like the fact that it's a Chicago film, but they don't go like overboard with the Chicago, like oh, we're going to show you the waterfront and all those other things. It's the only thing that really tells you this is constantly Chicago is that they absolutely carpet bombed the Cubs. Whoever was filming it, Walter Hill must have been a Cubs fan, because there's no sign of the White Sox, there's no sign of the Chicago Bulls, there's no sign of the Blackhawks. It's just the Cubs everywhere, just dotted around the city, which is fine. Who doesn't have the Cubs? But otherwise, it's like, I always think it was Chicago, like the 4th cinematic US city. Would it be like New York, LA, San Francisco, and then Chicago, maybe? Probably. I don't know. But, it's well represented here anyway.
You said you can see Belushi being a Chicago cop. When you see Ray Romano's dad being a Chicago police chief?
Wow,
yeah, I can. I totally can.
And randomly, he gives us sound like we talking about sleeve guns. We mentioned last week Taxi Driver. He plays Wizard in Taxi Driver.
Dude, I totally forgot about that. I just know him as the dad from fucking Everyone Loves Loves Raymond.
Ray Romano's dad, yeah.
Yeah. Which that show drives me up the fucking wall, but hey, that's another conversation altogether.
I can't stand it.
Just do the parents just sticking their oar in all the time.
The brother I'm all right with. The mother just does my fucking head in.
Yeah, she's too much.
But not their mother-in-law, right?
But yeah, Belushi has like loads of the best lines. Like when she's like, Gina Gershon's like, "Fuck you." He's like, "No, I think I have a headache and good taste." I was like, "God damn, that's a good burn, man." And don't get me wrong, it's bullshit because Gina Gershon is smoking hot and well out of his league. But if you're gonna burn her, it's like that's the fucking line to do it with.
He did say a line that I say I didn't laugh at anything. When they're doing an investigation, but in the diner. She comes to put coffee and he goes, sweetheart, I've got the right temperature, the right colour, I've had a bad day. And 30 seconds later, it was, "Come on, love, do your job."
Yeah, he's a dick.
Although 2 years time, he married her.
Did he?
Yeah, that becomes Belushi's wife number 2.
Oh, wow. Didn't know about the waitress.
That's a good fact.
There you go. You should have saved that for facts.
Although I will say, you've all missed what is one of the greatest line readings, maybe in cinema history. So it's going back to earlier in the film when he first finds Victor Rosta in the Russian bar, and you think he's going to break that guy's leg, and he pulls it off, and he just looks at him and goes, "Cocainum." It's just like, I don't think cocaine is cocainum in Russian. It just sounds cool.
I honestly thought that was going to be your opening line. I literally
It,
thought that was
dude,
going to be your
I
opening line.
had it right at the top. I've got 2 quotes written. One was cocainum, one was the one I picked, and I left it until the last minute because I was like, no, I'm more likely to want to talk about cocainum than just have it quoted at the start. So yeah, absolutely magnificent line reading. But yeah, maybe I'm just blinded by the fact that I love Arnie, but I do think this point in his career, he was at the top form because you watch him in films now, and I'm not sure if it's just like he had the right directors because he's not the greatest actor, but he has comedic timing, and it was proved this year in this film and in Twins in particular. But you see, like, I tried to watch a bit of Fubar and they try to do the comedy. I'm just like, it just doesn't work for me, and it feels quite awkward coming from Arnie. But this is like Running Man, Predator, Twins. I'm like, he is fucking flying. Like, because it's not just, oh, he's just Arnie, he's a superstar. I think he's great in all those films. And I think he's, like you said, I think he's genuinely good in this, despite the accent, as I mentioned. But
Speaking of,
I'll tell you what. Oh, sorry, go for it.
Sorry, Arnie and Russia and everything. I've never been to a Russian funeral. Do they have them
Just something,
open
just
casket right next to the grave?
it's
to
odd.
Top off?
I thought the same thing. I was like, is this what they do in Russia? This seems odd.
Casket wasn't even raised or anything. It was literally on the floor. Like, he's halfway to the ground already. He's just open. People are just standing
Dude, he looked
over
like
him.
he was half out as well. He wasn't even in the coffin. It felt like there was like a buffer, and then he was sitting on something, so he was kind of like half in, half out. You know, like the way he was stacked was like an open Big Mac. You know, where you have the box and you fold over the top, and you can see like half the Big Mac still, and then you've got to close the box to cover up the Big Mac. It's like that, only with a Russian person in a coffin. It's
And that was
insane.
the smallest graveyard I've ever seen. Like, they laid him out, and he could have touched both ends of the grass.
The Egyptians used to take cats and gold to the grave. He was sticking out because he was lying on vodka. That's what it was. Bottles and
Lying on
bottles of
vodka,
vodka.
Which wouldn't be ridiculous for this film because the imagery and iconography, I know at the start, most of it is actually shot. I think it was shot in Hungary rather than Russia, but it is very much the US representation of 80s Russia. Everywhere it's like they cut to this, they cut to that Marx, they cut to this Stalin, they cut to this misery. It's so the cliched iconography of, 80s Soviet Union.
It wasn't shot in Russia. Perfect scene in the final credits where he's doing his salute outside the Kremlin.
Wow.
That was superimposed. I wouldn't have guessed that. I mean, that looked perfect.
That was I'm so glad you brought this up. We'll get to the finale in a minute because the finale itself is, I would say, bad but interesting. But that final shot where he turns around like he's going to give him a little wave, and then it just cuts really clumsily to him giving a salute in the Red Square, which is then followed by just a scene of people walking around Red Square. But not just that, I'm not sure if you noticed, it's sped up. So they're all walking around really fucking fast. I don't know, I know the 80s kind of specialized in bizarre credit sequences. Predator being another one, albeit a fantastic one. Transformers, the animated movie, was a really strange one, which is kind of freeze framed on Unicron's head as if they kind of just ran out of money and time and just like, all right, we'll just show this on the screen. This is fucking up there as just being one of the craziest ones for sure.
It was absolutely insane. Like, superimposed, they've sped it up. It was either that or they did film it actually in the Red Square and they realized, fuck, the Russians come first. Everybody move quick. So those guys are just running quick.
That's all they've got. I would go as far as say, if you filmed it and the shot isn't great, don't use it because I don't know if anyone else noticed, it was absolutely unnecessary. Yeah. But the end of the film is the weakest part of the film. So when they finally catch up to Victor Oster and they have that like 3-way shootout where they completely fuck it, it's almost like as if say, oh, they've totally got him. Like they read it in the scripts, like, how are they going to mess this up? Oh, they'll point the gun at each other for no particular reason, but it's okay because we've just had a bus chase, which is quite bad. I'm not sure if you noticed, one of the buses had St. Louis on it. That makes sense. St. Louis isn't far from Chicago. It's a bit of a trek, but it's understandable. The other bus, which Victor Oster, I think, was driving, said Montreal on it. Now, Montreal's in Canada, and I checked, it's a 14-hour drive. That bus isn't going to fucking Montreal.
They do a lot of that, don't they, over there? They do a lot of bus journeys and everything.
I guess they don't have the rail service in the same way. I mean, I've driven like the equipment, but it just seems like a long fucking way. But anyway.
Do you know why after that final scene, when Victor steals the bus, he's not stealing the bus that the cocaine is in. So cocaine is just in the back of another bus. Some guy is just going to put that to Lost and Found, and one day when they're going to open it, it's just money and cocaine in Lost and
Awesome.
Found.
That's what I
it's
just
just
hope
the
I find.
worst vehicle to have a chase scene with, isn't it?
It's the best
There's no
vehicle.
jeopardy going on until they decide to try and play chicken.
Chicken, yeah.
It's just
With the,
It was-
with the, I'm
was
sure
on-
you all noticed the weirdest screaming match of all time. Like they're just trying to
They're
outshout
shouting
each
each other but can't hear each other.
There's no drama. The buses are going quite slowly, so they just shout really aggressively at each other.
And he shot the back of the bus like that was going to do something. Don't understand what he was doing. At that point, you're shooting a tank to get to him. I know the engine is probably at the back, but you fucking take in, like, you have to be, again, a marksman like Annie probably is. But gee, I couldn't believe he shot the back of the bus. It's not like
Well-
shooting a car as it's getting away.
But that's what I mean. That whole sequence, the bus sequence doesn't really work. The chicken sequence is okay, but it's kind of ruined by the ridiculous shouting match. And then they have what I can only describe as the oddest shootout in movie history. So you think, oh, there's going to be a
So go back. Sorry, before you mention the shootout, just go back a second.
Go for it.
After this Belushi makes a move and they jump over the car, Ross stares at that train like he's going head on with it. Like he looks at the train, the lights of the train are in his face. But then all of a sudden, it hits the side of the coach. Like, how the like, I don't understand how that happens.
It's like, and again, I think tonally it's inconsistent with the rest of the movie because despite a few shootouts, everything is relatively low key and grounded. And then they decide to have like a big bus chase at the end.
Yeah.
And as I said, like the train hitting the bus, that whole sequence just feels like it can't come out of nowhere. Like they were just like, we need something big. This is a Schwarzenegger movie. And then, as I said, the aforementioned like shootout, which isn't a shootout, they just kind of stand there and shoot at each other, just
And
like
scream again and scream. The
And scream,
screams.
yeah.
Yeah.
And he's wearing that ridiculous shell suit. It's the ending isn't fantastic. So it's a
But again-
patchy movie to say the least. But
Belushi. I don't know why this made me laugh because it's not particularly funny, but it's just the way he goes. I give up. This whole thing's very Russian.
Yeah,
It is,
made me
yeah.
chuckle.
yeah.
Like,
I
I've
mean,
just had enough of this shit.
the writers are thinking, well, we haven't killed Belushi because we've already killed one Chicago cop. But how can we just have a standoff between these two? Belushi, do something. Just say something. Did you notice who was in this film as well? No, not this film. Sorry, I'm spoiling next.
I know a
week's-
different film.
I'm spoiling next week's facts.
unbelievable,
No.
unbelievable. So
Moving on.
you ending there? Okay, fair enough. Should we move on to favorite scene?
Yeah, let's do that. And by the way, I've already seen next week's film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently, fucking so you've already written your notes. Very quickly, it's the opening scene. It's still the most memorable. I'm not even sure if it's good, but it's so bizarre and wonderfully ridiculous. The stone in the hands, the butt naked fight out on the snow, the fact that everyone's just lifting weights and being nude. It's a silly scene and doesn't actually prepare you for what is a relatively grounded film for the rest of it. But yeah, I really enjoy that opening sequence. So that's my favorite scene.
For me, it's the same. The opening sequence, and pretty much what you said. It doesn't prepare you for what else is coming in the film. It's totally different to what anything else in the film delivers.
It's closer to True Lies than it is to the rest of Red Heat. It's really strange.
You would expect like a fighter jet to pick him up at the end of that fight scene or something. It was absolutely insane. To the fact as well, there's no exposition of why he's there because it goes from there to then him and his mates just walking towards the bar. So it was really weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you?
A lot of the plot points are just kind of just left up in the air. It's like Jim Belushi is kind of half-assedly kind of trying to, make up for his is it his partner's death?
Yeah.
Who gets killed? Like that just falls by the wayside as well. Very strange. Sorry, Dave. Carry on.
Most of the film is irrelevant, isn't it? It's going to go ahead no matter what. You
Yeah.
don't have to explain everything. Just go.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Again, opening scene, loved that. I loved Belushi. I just loved the way he rants and his one-liners. I thought that was.
Oh, I thought you were going to say I love the way he runs because the way he runs is not fantastic. But he runs like a middle-aged cop, which is cool.
We're on favorite scene, not loves.
Oh wait.
Yeah.
Oh Christ! I was daydreaming. Oh.
It's all right.
Is your
Well,
favourite
the
scene
fucking
not
Rob's,
Sure, yeah,
Rob's
this is
talking
coming
about
up.
next week's movie. Jesus Christ, you're going to be on the next section. I'm the only one keeping this fucking show on the road. Jesus Christ, guys.
You're the only one keeping the show on the road. Should we mention your 3 takes at the beginning?
This
Meow.
fuck is so mean. This is
That
so
was
mean.
catty. Sorry, that was catty.
Well, let's just move because we all seem to agree the opening scene is the best one anyway. So
Yeah,
go
yeah,
for the rest of your loves. Go for it, buddy.
Go on, Dave.
Okay, sorry.
James Belushi. He closed his book in anger. Like, you call me out, I'm done.
I love James Belushi.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. And it's on his hand cannon. I mean, that thing is
The
ridiculous.
first one.
It's done, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
how he could walk with that thing in his trousers, I have no idea. But
I loved as well Belushi saying, "How did you get that through airport security? Diplomatic immunity."
That was a big thing in the 80s. Is we
Yeah.
found out in Lethal Weapon 2, it just doesn't sound as good. Whenever I hear diplomatic immunity, I hear it in a South African accent. Diplomatic immunity. It just sounds better. But everything sounds better if you're being evil in a South African accent. It's just one of those accents.
Agreed.
Mind you, Russian should be great as well. I still don't know how I feel about Victor
He's
Ross.
not Russian.
Conflicted.
We've established that.
Georgian Russian, same thing. No, it's not the same thing anymore, but yeah. There's the chemistry between Arnie and Belushi, I think, is genuinely good in this film. I mentioned earlier, just the fact that they don't make movies like this anymore, like a serious world with serious action and just funny situations. Kind of, like I said, it's not actually all that funny. It's like 20, 30 minutes in, but I think it makes the movie more consistent. Like I prefer that more believable world rather than all just being like everyone's playing it for laughs. 3, I think it's like solid dialogue throughout. So even though the narrative is messy, I think the dialogue throughout is actually very good. And I'm going to throw in a 4th one very quick. Solid direction by Walter Hill. Like I said, this is shot like a proper 80s procedural action movie. And I think it's all the better for it.
For me, Belushi and Schwarzenegger as well. They know what they're doing, and they I want to say they're doing it well. They're doing it passable, but it's good. I like it. The grittiness of Chicago. Just again, I say this a lot in a couple of films that we've done lately. You can feel the grime and just the horribleness of Chicago.
Even the police station has that 80s. You don't see anyone smoking, but it looks like someone's been smoking. It has that vibe to it, kind of thing. So yeah, it's all the way throughout the film.
And I only had 2, so I'm going to steal one of Dave's. The gun.
Fair enough.
Just
It's
where
a
do you
cool
put
gun.
it?
Well, it's one of those things about 80s movies. We mentioned it a whole bunch of times. Like they just decided, oh, we're going to have cool guns in movies. Like they seem to have given up on that. It's just guns in movies now. Whereas back then, just like, oh, there's got to be we're going to have to put a giant scope on it. There's got to be a ridiculously huge silencer, something to make it stand out. Or in this case, just make it fucking Russian.
I wonder if that was a real gun or whether they just made something look stupid just so they could say, oh, the Russians are bigger.
I don't know. We'd have to have a look. I usually rely on you for things like this. You tell me the names of the guns and everything. No.
Who knows? Hates?
Dave?
Lawrence Fishburne. Just a bit of a dick.
Racist.
Larry. Peter Boyle, again, it's not that he was bad. I just can't see him as anything other than the dad from Everyone Loves Raymond. And
That's
the
fair
ending,
enough.
which was just pants.
It's kind of silly, yeah. My hates, number one, the narrative is just needlessly messy. Are the street gangs important to the story? I don't know. The cat storyline falls flat. Avenging Gallagher's death, which I mentioned a second ago, kind of goes away at some point in the film. It's all very strange. Number 2, Victor Rosser and Salem's wardrobes undermine their evilness at every turn. Every time I want to take him seriously, Sam's wearing another ridiculous hat. Victor Rosser's wearing a ridiculous shell suit. It's all very strange. Number 3, the end is mental. And as part of this, I'll throw in a number 4, it just takes itself a bit too seriously. It just needs to tone it down just a little bit, which I know conflicts with what I said before in terms of making an action movie first and then adding the comedy. But this film really doesn't quite know what it wants to be. So those are my hates.
For me, number 1 is the story. Well, lack thereof story, like the MacGuffin around the weird key. The whole plot about well, I thought was quite clever. The half and half dollar bill, $100 bill, but then the whole story, like why did he store the money in that fucking locker and then he couldn't go back to it because of the key? If he knows the locker and you're that much of a villain, just break into the locker.
I know. It wasn't like, oh my god, the key to Fort Knox. How will I get in? It's like a fucking railway locker. It's like go late, smash it the fuck up, get your money. Like considering what he has to go through to get that key
How did they
back.
not find it? It's going to be the bus station, the train station. All right, there can't be that.
They
many.
didn't know it. No, he did know it was a locker key, didn't he?
He knew the locker.
It's got the number on it. Yeah, what else could it be?
I'm just saying, right?
Legislator.
If I had to like break into like I know a locker at a fucking train station like today, I've never done it before. I'm like, if I had to, I'm guessing I could figure it out. I'm sure you could. And he's supposed to be the big bad guy. Surely this can't be your first fucking locker breaking, dude.
As part of my number 1, I'm going to go 1.1. The weird plot around the nurse man, like why it needed to happen. I don't understand, like why he had to dress.
Yeah,
as
that's a great
nurse.
point.
It's
true. Yeah, that really did take me out the film. I was just like, why have you got this dude doing this job?
Number 3, the ending, and I'm sorry, number two, the ending, and number three, the inclusion of the clean heads. Just felt
Yeah.
weird as well.
He needed American.
just didn't
backup,
need
that's
it.
all he was.
Yeah.
They didn't need to be more than a line to be like, okay, yeah, fair enough. As part of the plot, he's working with a gang in Chicago to, make the deal work. But they just didn't need to be as involved. Or if you do involve them, you involve them properly and make them an interesting element of the film.
Yeah.
They just kind of exist. I don't know if they were just there for the shootout at the hotel later in the film, just to have some bodies. But surely you could have just had Victor Rossa getting more Georgians. I don't know. Yeah, I totally agree. Any alternative titles to this film?
Yep. So French Canadian, Double Trigger.
It's rubbish.
Yeah. China, Red Detective. Denmark, A Russian Cleans Up Chicago.
Little on the
Very
nose,
literal.
but sure. Yeah.
Finland, Red Danger.
Mm,
Greece, Sending Away.
no.
Yeah. Hungary, Red Cop.
I don't know what you're going to say there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Schwarzenegger. Oh, hang on. Japan, Schwarzenegger, Red Bull.
Gives you wins.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've seen the Schwarzenegger adverts from Japan from the early 90s, I mean,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, you know what they thought of him. Crazy stuff.
Norway, Red Sal.
Nope.
Red South.
Yeah. Poland, Red Fever. Portugal, Red Hell.
Mm-mm.
Okay. What else have we got here? Taiwan, Devil's Red Star.
That sounds filthy.
and
Filthy.
I don't know if I said this one already, but Vietnam, Red Alert. I don't know if I said Red Alert already.
That's actually probably one of the better ones. I mean, the only thing you should take from that is that if you haven't gone to watch them before, just type in Arnold Schwarzenegger Japanese adverts. And there's so many of them, and they're all amazing. Tommy Lee Jones, he's done a whole bunch as well. Last time I went to Japan, he's everywhere. He's fucking, because he does Boss Coffee, I think it is. So when you go to Japan, there are just vending machines everywhere, just like in the video games, just like in the movies you expect. They are literally fucking everywhere. And it felt like on every single one, there was just a picture of Tommy Lee Jones looking miserable. And I found it so heartwarming. It was lovely. But yeah, the Schwarzenegger ads from the 90s is an absolute joy. Any facts for this movie?
Do you have any aside from the Belushi married the waitress one?
No.
That was quite good.
That was good. I mean, I'm not going to lie. We were kind of hoping for more information on the guns. That was kind of why we invited you onto this podcast, and you fucked it, mate. You've absolutely fucked it.
Hit the bed.
Yeah. We mentioned that god awful scene at the end where he salutes in front of Red Square, but it
Yeah.
came up on the bottom, didn't it? Dedicated to Benny Dobbins. So
Yes.
the film's dedicated to. He was the stunt coordinator. He died of a heart attack on the set while staging the film's snow fight scene in Ramsau, Austria.
Oh, that sucks.
Bless him. He's just setting it up, and all of a sudden,
Well-
he's in the snow himself.
If it's any consolation, he died setting up the best scene in the film. So,
Yeah.
there is that.
Arnold Schwarzenegger spent 3 months learning to speak Russian. Jim Belushi spent 2 weeks working at a Chicago police district headquarters. 3 months learning Russian. 2 weeks, I don't know what to do now. I'm a cop. It's fine.
Well, Jim Belushi already looks like a fucking cop. He just looks like a jaded cop. It's fantastic. And isn't that what he plays in, like, what were the other bit? Because Jim Belushi, we've not really mentioned in any great deal. Like, he obviously was always in the shadow of his brother,
Yeah.
who had died a few years earlier and all that jazz. But he had like a brief window there, didn't he? In like the late 80s, early 90s, where they were like, all right, is this guy going to be a movie star? Because he made K9, The Principal, which I know is
I
a film
love
you
the
like.
principal. I like the principal.
And what was the other one? Mr. Destiny.
Mr. Destiny with Michael Caine. I like that one.
Yeah, and that's the
Yeah.
thing. They were all like okay. Like I don't think anyone like hates those films. And the same with this film, I think. But he never really got above a 3-star movie, and then he just kind of like,
Yeah.
in terms of as a movie star, you have your shot, and none of them hit big. None of them were flops. But I think he just kind of just didn't quite
Really?
happen.
Mid to late 90s, he started doing that TV show, which randomly went on for like 15 seasons or something. It went on longer than you would think it would.
What was that?
According to Jim, I think it was called.
Oh shit! Yeah, was that on for that long?
Well, I could be.
Dude, you might be
Consider
right.
it
I'm
15,
always surprised every so often when I hear about a TV show, and I'm like, oh, maybe I'll start watching that. And like, oh, it's on season 9. I'm like, get the fuck! I thought that came out like 2 years ago. Ah, the relentless
right.
passage of time. Sorry.
Walter Hill, thinking Arnold Schwarzenegger was too muscular, asked him to lose 10 pounds for his role, and Jim Belushi to gain 10 pounds.
Nice, like it.
Vagron Rostavili, Victor's brother, is played by one of Hungary's leading action movie stars. Gabba Conks. In an interview, he said that until he met Arnold Schwarzenegger, he thought of himself as a muscular and tough actor. He subsequently described himself as a small potato.
Yeah, I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger is just, well, he's just the physique, isn't he?
This gives this gives a bit of a cadence to what you said about it being one of the most dangerous scenes. For the Joy-led prison scene, 200 real inmates were used as extras.
He seems dangerous in real life, let alone in the film. Ridiculous. It's an absurd scene.
The name and signature above Ivan Danko in the hotel guest book are of Jim Morrison, lead singer of The Doors. It's okay.
Sure.
Yeah. This is the first of 3 collaborations with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jim Belushi. The other 2 are Last Action Hero and Jingle All the Way. Can you really call them collaborations if he's cameoed?
I think that's a bit of a stretch, isn't it?
Yeah.
When I think of like collaborations, I think of like Arnie and Danny DeVito in Junior and
Yeah.
Twins. Like that's a collaboration, not just films you happen to be in together. Like this is a collaboration because they're both on it. They're both on the poster, sure. But the other ones, no, I'm not fucking having that. Most people wouldn't remember that Jim Belushi was in The Last Action Hero. No, not having it.
In the coffee shop scene, Ridzik shows Danko all the police reports he has to fill out. The title on the report shown to the camera reads, Worthless Document Case Report, Chicago Police.
Seems fair enough.
The prison scene was originally longer, with Danko having to prove his strength to the cleanheads before they let him talk to Abdul Elijah. After lifting some very heavy weights, Danko fights and defeats one of the gang members. Photos and still frames of this scene can be found.
That would have been
Again,
so
that
much
kind
better.
of takes you on. But it sounds so much better, but they're cops going in to talk to him, and now he's having a prison fight.
But then you're kind of selling me on the idea of like they own the prison, you know, like that because that didn't really come across to me. That just felt like they're going into prison and just like, why the fuck aren't you just interviewing this guy in a room? He's a prisoner. What the fuck? But if they're just like they sell you on the idea that he's basically running this motherfucker and to get anything he's got to, you know, and let's be honest, it's a ridiculous film. Like, we're just gonna get Arnie to lift weights because he's really good at lifting weights. I'm like, yeah, sure, let's fucking do it.
Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sven Ole Thornton, and Kurt Fuller, who played the detective in this, starred in The Running Man the same year, in 87.
I thought Running Man was
Came out
88.
isn't it?
This is 87. Running Man was 87.
Oh no, wait. This was 88.
88,
88, yeah.
This was 88, yeah.
Filmed 87. Isn't it?
Yeah, no, yeah, because Predator and Running Man were 87, and then this and Twins were 88.
There's loads, but they're pretty much
That's fine.
pony, so I'll leave it at that.
All right, so next one is Hug to Futures. This is where we ask a question: remake, sequel, Let It Die, or Live Well Alone. The answer is Let It Die, as far as I'm concerned. It's a movie of its time in so many respects, and I don't mean Let It Die because I think it's terrible, but I guess like the Russians are bad again in 2025, but not in such amusingly broad strokes as they were in the 80s. And let's be honest, the US are kind of bad guys now as well. So, you know, that's not great. So, I think this movie lives and exists in 1988, and I don't think it should be removed. And let's be honest, as fun as it is, and it's really, you know, we've kind of nitpicked and stuff, but it's still a fun movie. I don't need to see this film again at all. So, yeah, Let It Die.
Agreed. Yeah.
Cross board.
He remade it already with Rush Hour.
It's a similar thing. It's just like a culture thing. But that's what I was talking about before. Where by the time you get to that is first and foremost a broad comedy,
Yeah.
which then has cop stuff and action stuff sprinkled on top, rather than it being the other way around with this film. So it feels like a very different film because it feels like a mid to late 90s, which, let's be clear, hasn't really gone since. Like Rush Hour was almost, in some respects, the kind of template for those movies going forward. And they did the same. Like Jackie Chan did a bunch of them. What was the one he did with Owen Wilson, where they were in the Wild
Shanghai
West?
Nights.
Yeah.
Shanghai Noon and Shanghai Night. Yeah, same kind of fucking shit. Anyway, so we're on agreement. Just let it die.
Oh, sorry, yeah, but let it die. Sorry, I didn't actually say that.
Yeah,
Let
it's
It Die.
fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
Make a change. So that's where we ask the question: if you could make one change to make this movie, what would you do, other than remove his ridiculous shell suit and actually put on a different coat, not just make him naked? That would be absurd. It's just tighten up the core plot. And I know that sounds a big, broad thing, but that's the major issue I have with this film, is that the plot just never really takes off. I'm never really convinced by any of it. It's a bit too laborious. So yeah, I would just tighten up the narrative.
I wouldn't say tighten up. I'd say write the plot.
The plot's there. I think it's too plotty. That's what I think. I think there's just too fucking much of it. I just think you just need to streamline it. But I don't think it really matters. Like, it's a cop film. It's full of cliches. It's absolutely fine. I don't need these 2 or 3 asides to God knows fucking what. Just get back to the action. Get back to the quips and the asides. That's absolutely fine. That's what we're here for.
Say your change before he talks again.
The
This bullshit. Dude, like, until I talk again. We're on a podcast where we talk, you fucking jackass. What the fuck?
See, you couldn't even get your change out. He talked again.
Please, regale
The
us
ending really
with your
interesting.
opinions.
Yeah, just sort the ending out. It's dull. The pluses are my tits. It was
Yeah.
just the
No, I
least
agree.
Jeopardy I've ever seen in an ending ever. So make that more interesting.
So you've said the ending, you've said the story, so which pretty much is right. So for me, I'm just going to say give the guy a doctor's coat and not a nurse's outfit. I think
That's probably the correct answer. That's the most ridiculous part of this film. I mean, you mentioned it earlier in terms of hate. The more you stop and think about it, the more insane that whole section is. Like, why would you? Like, there's so much risk. If I was like, I need a nurse to go in and kill this dude, I know what I'll do. I'll send in Rob. What the fuck? Like, just like it's just insane. Like, he was just such a dude.
Well, you wouldn't fuck Rob in a wig? Is that what you think?
I mean, I might fuck Rob in a wig. I just wouldn't send him in to pretend to be a
Wouldn't
woman.
believe
That's all.
it.
Anyway, video games. There was actually a video game released by Ocean Software, unsurprisingly, in 1988 for the Commodore 64, Atari ST, Spectrum, and Amstrad. It was one of those games that used to have the gigantic boxes, and you'd find it upstairs in W.H. Smith's. That makes sense to people who grew up in Cardiff. It was a beat 'em up, and if you go look back, the game wasn't great, but it looked really good, especially for its time. But the game wasn't fantastic. If you were going to do one today, and we've brought this up so many times, one of the options is still Sleeping Dogs. Just set it in Chicago in the 80s and just have you playing. I like the idea of being both Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jim Belushi. Or the cop version of IO Interactive's Kane and Lynch. I'm not sure if you remember that name, that game. It was like there was two of them actually, and they weren't fantastic, but they were trying to like go for that whole Heat aesthetic. But I think I just wanted to be Sleeping Dogs. In reality, fuck the whole Red Heat thing. Just make Sleeping Dogs 2. What the fuck's happening here, guys? It's one of the best games of the 360 generation, and they just haven't made a sequel. It's insane.
So I had Sleeping Dogs as well, but I was thinking, what was that Streets of Rage other kind of game? It was like Fight something. I can't remember talking to the video game guy.
Final Fight.
So they did a 3D version of that back in like the PS2, PS3, and it was just I do that. You don't really because you got in Final Fight and you had the guns and fighting and everything like that. You can have Belushi. You can go as Belushi, or you can go as Schwarzenegger walking through the cities of Chicago. Final Fight looked like the city of Chicago. It was that.
It did. It did a bit. Aesthetically, it totally looked the part. And they're making a bit of a comeback. 2D brawlers. I can't remember the name of the company who's made them all, but funnily enough, they brought back Streets of Rage. Then they did a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game because that was so big. Like the Konami arcade machine was massive in the 90s and all that jazz. I think there was a Power Rangers one released recently. And I think they've done a Marvel one, which is coming out quite soon. So what's the next on the list? Red Heat, obviously. So yeah, let's go with that. Anything, Dave? No,
he's not going to do it.
No, he has no
I
idea.
zoned out there for a moment.
Yeah, you said best and worst of IMDb. So this is where we pick a random 10-star and 1-star review for this film. There can't be that many written reviews for Red Heat. 72.
Dave, guess how many?
64.
166.
Well, so yeah, there are more. So there's a bit of love for this film. Or unless they're all 1-star reviews. There can't be that many 10-star reviews. 46? Is that too high?
9.
9.
Sorry,
No, that's more accurate. Like giving this film 10 out of 10 is mental. And I know 10 out of 10 is the same as 5 out of 5, but it's not. There's something about 10 out of 10 where you're just like, dude, you've lost your mind if you're giving this film 10 out of 10.
Thanks for explaining maths to us.
Yeah.
No, because it's the same.
Made us all slightly dumber.
It's the same, but it's not the same. You get it. Like 5 out of 5 and 10 out of 10 is a 100% review. But there's a smaller window. But like, surely if you get to 10 out of 10, you're just like, I'll give it a 9. I'll give it
This next review for 10 out of 10 is perfect. It's only one line, but it's absolutely perfect. It was written, and I'm pretty sure he was delirious with COVID at this point. It was written in March 2020. Titled Russia.
Mm-hmm.
The review is, I like the bit where Arnie holds onto a hot rock, then punch the man. 10 out of 10.
Nailed it. You know why? Because he stopped watching after that. If I just watched the opening sequence, I might be like, this might be a 10 out of 10 movie. It's not, but that sequence is fucking awesome. 1 star. There's got to be more 1-star reviews. 21?
17.
1.
One.
1 star. 1.
I thought someone would go in hot on this, considering some of the great films that have had 1 star reviews, multiple 1 star reviews. Bizarre. But I think this feeds into, sorry, very quickly, I know you guys don't want me talking apparently, but the fact that I mentioned at the top that this is like the most 3 star movie ever, I think that kind of is showing out in the reviews. Like everyone's just like, it's fine. It's fine. Like to say, because it's not a 1 star film, but it's also definitely not a 10 star film. There's me with the maths again. Sorry, guys. I'm big on the numbers. What can I say?
So this was written in August 2003, titled Red Meltdown. I can't understand why this gets any good reviews. This is a red turkey. Arnold acts, I'm sure it's on purpose, as the Terminator / Red Cop. His co-star isn't a good actor at all. Not even enough to be.
Doesn't even name him.
Yeah. But what really stinks about it is the writing. F this, F that, and most of the humor is forced and falls flat. Yeah. Not a fan of that.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, clearly not happy. But then anybody who like watches an 80s cop movie, especially one starring Arnie, and they're just like, oh, there's too much swearing. I'm just like, no, maybe this film's just not for you, bro. But it is what it is. Which brings us to our own ratings and recommendations. Cut to the quick. I mean, yes, 3 stars. I've said it multiple times. But I'd say no. So it's a 3 star, and I wouldn't recommend anyone watch this. Even if you watched it and enjoyed it as a kid, I don't think you necessarily have to go back. I wouldn't tell anyone like definitely don't watch this film, but I just don't think it's quite good enough. And we've made the point a bunch of times. The problem is there is a good movie in here, but it's kind of like bookended by scenes which don't really belong in the same movie. So yeah, it's a 3 and a no from me.
I'd give this 13 out of 20. Now, I sort of agree with you. You know, I hadn't made my mind up before I got here whether I was going to go with 3 or I was playing with a 2. I was thinking, I didn't hate the film, but I just got so bored so many times that I wasn't sure if it was 3. But I think you're right. I think going through it, it's a 3. It's passable all the way through, but not exciting at any point.
Yeah, I just don't think it does. It doesn't do anywhere. Put it this way, I'd be if I had to be pushed in direction, I could be convinced into a 2. I like. There's no way I'm giving this a 4. There's just no way. But no, I'm going to stick to my guns.
I'll help you out. It's a 2.5. It is a 2.5.
That's understandable. I get it.
The story is marginal at best. The acting, not the acting. I still can't think of words. This is why he talks a lot. Because they can't come up with words. The partnership between James Belushi and Arnie, I think, is great.
That's what elevates it for me.
Yeah, but no, it's 2.5. It's not Walter Hill's best.
No, and I think what it lacks is the fact that Jim Belushi is good in this, but there's just not that likable character. The reason 40 Hours works to an extent, don't get me wrong, it's a better written movie, but Eddie Murphy cuts through the grime and the misery and all that jazz. And you kind of get that here with the whole, like, well, the odd couple, he's Russian, he's American, he's a loudmouth, he doesn't talk much, all that bullshit. But at the end of the day, like, Arnie's a bit of a jerk in this film, and Jim Belushi's just a jerk in a different way. And you were just like, it needs somebody to come. Like, if it was like Arnold Schwarzenegger in this film and he was playing alongside like Eddie Murphy, I think it might work. I think it might totally work. But instead, like, even though I'd like them together on screen, eventually, because I just fell down, like, I think they're just both maybe dicks. So it is what it is. But yeah, like 2.5, I totally get it. Which leads us to our choice for next week. So that's been 1988. Have we settled on that? Red Heat. Yeah. You've already almost said what next week's film is, but you stopped just short. What is your choice, sir?
So the year is 1988.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Twins? No, that doesn't make any sense. We've already covered that.
Do you need a bit more?
Yes, please.
The director is Mark Goldblatt.
Mark Goldblatt from 1988. I have no fucking clue.
One of the actors is Vincent Price.
Vincent Price?
Yeah.
Is it a horror film?
Hell.
Ed Wood wasn't 88. That was later, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was 90s, yeah.
Not Gremlins 2.
No, it was 90s.
Was Vincent Price in Gremlins 2? Am I making that up? I think I might be making that up.
No, he was. He was
the scientist.
Scientist, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I thought I may mixed it up. I don't know. Tell us it.
Right. As soon as I give you this actor, because we've talked about it before. So the main actor is Treat Williams.
Oh, the one where he's like a teacher or some shit.
No, that's The Substitute 2.
Ah, that's all I can think of with Treat Williams now is just him being the substitute.
Substitute 2. The Substitute was Tom Berenger.
Oh,
And they
okay,
couldn't get
sorry,
him back
my
to the
apologies.
originals.
My
Yeah, yeah.
apologies. I've never seen any of them.
So,
for my
only
sins.
because you picked Red Heat, I'm going for this one. I'm going for Dead Heat.
Dead Heat.
Yeah.
We just want to
I've
make
told
sure
you
that
about
is
this before. I've told you about this before. It's the two cops. One wakes up and either zombie.
Of course. Sorry, how the
No,
hell
it's
did I forget
okay.
about Dead Heat? Yeah, this is going to get a niche audience, but those are often the ones that do better numbers because they're the people who come out. It's like finally somebody's making a podcast about Dead Heat. When you first mentioned it, I was just like, oh, dude, I'm not sure about this. The more you talked about it, the more it's just like, I think I kind of need to see this film. And now I will for the podcast. I suspect Dave won't join us for Dead Heat.
No.
No, it's fair enough.
Come on, we watched some films.
We have lots of
Yeah.
films, but yeah. No, it's all you guys.
We've watched some films. It was almost quite reminiscent. Oh, we've watched some films together, just
Well,
not Dead Heat.
I mean, we have watched some films.
So yeah,
comes to mind.
this is a left turn for us. So Dead Heat, 1988's Dead Heat, starring Treat Williams and Vincent Price. That is quite the fucking
Oh,
lineup.
and I don't know if you remember Joe Piscopo. Remember I mentioned Joe Piscopo?
Yes, yeah, I remember that. Yeah. So, I mean,
love
Jesus
that.
Christ, I can imagine if you're listening to this podcast, you'll already know if you're going to join us next week. I suspect it's going to be hard to convince you. Either you know what Dead Heat is and you're like, finally, or you're like, what the fuck is Dead Heat? I guess the more pressing matter, is there anywhere to watch this for folk?
Yeah, I'm making you pay for it, but it is on Amazon Prime.
That's fine. I don't mind paying for that. I mean, it sounds bananas. So what's the IMDb on this, just out of interest?
6.1, same as Red Heat.
Well, that's fair enough then. So there's something, people do like this film to one extent or another. So yeah, well, anyway, please do join us next week for Dead Heat. I mean, like I said, I can ask people, they're either going to or they're not. It's up to them. But yeah, this has been 1988's Red Heat. Next week, we'll be covering 1988's Dead Heat. Jesus Christ, I don't think I was going to have to say that. Do you have anything else to add, guys, before we wrap this up?
Yeah, I'm going to bring up a comment that we've had on the YouTube for Desperado because because you said it about the niche audience. I'm sorry, your username is insane, but it's Filter Red DJC 4653.
That's busy.
He put, I like this. Haven't heard many people do this one, and it's an A-grade classic, despite the confusion over the villains, which I also had until I saw the original.
Yeah, it is mental.
Yeah,
So,
I'm with him all the way.
sense.
The confusion with was it Bucho and Moko? Or Mucho? Yeah, really confusing until you go back and watch El Mariachi and see what's going on.
Yeah, I really feel like there was a good stretch. And I'd seen that film before, but similar to Red Heat, I hadn't seen it for a long time. And I was like 30 minutes in, I was just like, I don't fucking get this. And when he did the whole, oh, it's my brother, I was just like, dude, you've seen this guy before. What the fuck's going on? But yeah, Bucho, Muko, whatever the fuck his name is, it's all a little bit confusing. But
I will say, if you had questions about Arnie and Belushi acting in this Red Heat, wait until Dead Heat.
I think I'm kind of looking forward to it. I think if nothing else, based on the synopsis for the film, it's going to be interesting. Let's just put it that way. Yeah. All right. So yeah, this has been Red Heat. Join us next week for Dead Heat. I'm Liam. He's Rob. That's Dave. And you have been listening to the Hey Guys podcast. Cheers, guys. Catch you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Cheers, guys. Bye now.
Oh, and before I forget, where can folk reach us if they were so inclined to?
Well, you can actually reach us on Hey You Guys 80s at Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter. But if you want to send us a mail, do heyyouguys80s@gmail.com. Send us in your recommendations. Send us in your thoughts about any of the episodes. Just literally talk to us. We'll have a one-sided talk with you on the podcast.
Yeah. We're nice folk. Get in touch. But no, cheers, guys. Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys. Bye now.
Hey, you